This time we are playing Super Off-Road for the Super Nintendo and Sega Genesis. This was a very fun top-down racing game back in the day. And the funny thing is, I didn't even realize that they made a Genesis version of this game until about 6 months ago. So I was actually pretty surprised. I got lucky and I picked it up at a local video game store. They had a copy. And it is really good. Both these games have all 16 tracks, because in the arcade version, there are actually two arcade versions. Both of them had 8 tracks, and then the second version had a different set of 8 tracks, where when this came out on Super Nintendo and Sega Genesis, it had all 16. Where the version that came out on the NES only had the first 8. I kind of like the NES version better than both of these, even though the hardware's inferior, just because the NES version actually supports 4 players. Where both these versions only support 2, but they're still really good games. How I like to play this game, and I play it the same with the arcade, is I will try and get shocks and tires first. That way when I hit all the bumps and stuff like that, my vehicle will go faster. Ooh, that was nice. So graphics are great on both games. I would say they're about even. I mean, Super Nintendo has a little better color, but other than that, they're too close to tell. I would call them both even. Sound and music. Super Nintendo. I mean, unless you like prefer that gritty sound of the Genesis, Super Nintendo probably has better music. Controls are actually better on the Super Nintendo because of the L and R shoulder buttons. Because you can actually turn sharper by holding, if you're turning right and you hold down the R button, you can actually make a sharper turn. Or if you just push the shoulder button, just the L and just the R, you can do just a very mild turn. So you got a lot more control over your vehicle for not having any kind of analog controls. For a Super Nintendo version, they added the hay bales. I think it's the only version that has that. I don't think any of the arcade versions have it. The gameplay in the arcade versions are actually a little bit different. I mean, the same basic top-down gameplay, but the arcade versions, it's kind of a little more, I don't know how to explain it. Like, you hit a jump, and you kind of fly in the air a little bit more, and that kind of thing. If you ever pick up, I think it's Midway Arcade Treasures 3, 2 or 3, I'm pretty sure it's 3. It has both arcade versions on it. I definitely recommend playing those over either of these if you can, unless you're like me and you're a retro snob and you prefer playing on retro hardware. But both these games, you don't have to get first place every time, and just first and second place just depends on how much more money you get. You have to get at least third. You cannot come in last. If you come in last, then you lose. For the arcade versions, I don't remember if the NES version was the same way, but you had to get first place every single time. First time I came across this in the arcade, back in the day, it was shortly after it came out. And I'm going to switch the sound here so you guys get a good sound comparison. First we'll have the Genesis game going. But went to the arcade, and I was with my dad. I don't remember if my dad had some friends with him or if they met him down there. But I really like playing Super Sprint, another top-down shooter. Oh, crap. That sucked. Anyway, really like playing Super Sprint, and they kind of had that kind of in the back corner of the arcade. It was a good-sized arcade back then. And the guy that owned it took really good care of his machines. And they just got this game in, Super Off-Road, the first version of it. And my dad and his friend, and a couple other guys that were there, were really hooked on the game. He's like, oh, you gotta try this, you gotta try this. I'm like, oh, no, I'm playing Super Sprint. And I didn't try it out, but I did watch it, and it was really impressive. So I played it the next time I went to the arcade. It was a lot of fun. In fact, I might have played the NES version before I played the arcade version. Now I think about it. The NES version was really good too. One of these days I'll have to get a bunch of friends and family together or something and play 4-player in the NES version. So as you can see, I'm doing a lot sharper turns on the Super Nintendo version. And just like the last couple of videos, I'm doing live gameplay on the right, recorded gameplay on the left for a good comparison. But yeah, I'm doing a lot sharper turns. So it kind of makes the gameplay on the Super Nintendo version a little bit better. So the Super Nintendo version of the game is a little better than the Genesis, just by a little bit, mainly because of the controls. That's pretty much the only deciding factor. But the bowling alley that I used to go to back in college, a little after college, they actually had the second version of this game on the arcade. I got pretty good at that. I was able to play that game for about 45 minutes at a time with 1/4. Kind of the same strategy I do here, where I get shocks and tires first, and then acceleration, then top speed, and then focus on nitro booster. I had a chance to buy one of these games back in the day. Fortunately, I didn't have access to a pickup to go pick it up. So if you try and stay in front of the truck behind you, when they boost, it'll hit your truck and kind of propel you forward a little bit. Nice little strategy. This game is still fun. They came out with that that third-person racing game, like Super Off-Road, the Baja, I think it was. It's an alright game. I actually wasn't a fan of it. I like this one much, much better. I think that was an arcade game. It actually made a pretty good arcade game, if I remember correctly. If I'm not confusing it with another game. I'm going to risk it. I'm going to go for it. There we go. Yeah, I love these old style top-down games. Switch the sound back over. And they had a Toyota license in here or something, because they got the Toyota name and the songs from the commercial and everything. Classic product placement in video games. Second place, that was good. If you ever have an opportunity to pick up either one of these games, definitely some good fun. Should probably check and see if they re-release them at all on the newer systems. I usually check that before I make these videos. Probably on some Midway collection or something like that. Like they made them on PlayStation 2 and Xbox original. I think GameCube as well. I think they made those Midway arcade treasures on GameCube. But if not GameCube, definitely PS2 and Xbox. So Midway Arcade Treasures 3. If you don't have a Super Nintendo or a Genesis. Or heck, even a regular Nintendo. Regular Nintendo version is a lot of fun too. So I'm able to take on the Super Nintendo controller, I'm able to take these turns a lot sharper. It's almost able to stay ahead of them. It was close. So I'm out of nitro, but I got everything maxed out. So when you go shocks and tires, a lot of these hills and bumps and stuff like that go through them a lot faster. Oh man! So I can catch him here. There we go. Oh, almost got in front of him. Of course, when this game came out, these were cutting-edge graphics. They're so dated now, but it still holds up. The gameplay definitely holds up. There's a lot of indie games and re-released games and HD remakes and stuff like that. I mean, if they made like an HD remake of this game or anything like that, it would definitely hold up. It's funny how a lot of those old 16-bit era games, the gameplay still holds up to today. I mean, look at Super Mario World. Super Mario World's a great example with Super Mario Maker. So can I stay ahead of him? There we go. So all my money now just gets pumped into Nitro. The Nitro, of course, in the arcade version, much more powerful stuff. But it's really tempted to buy more of it in the arcade, but you actually gotta focus more on the actual upgrades first. Now you don't want to use your nitro right before hitting the water, because that'll slow you down pretty good, like I just did earlier. For some reason, the Super Nintendo version of the game, the color is a lot more vibrant than the Genesis version on the tracks. Like a little more brighter. Doesn't really take anything away from it. I guess you can just turn the color up on your TV if you want to. Try not to hit the bales of hay. Oh, and I hit the hay. And I missed the money, that's okay. Actually doing pretty good at this game. Switch the sound back over so you can get a good comparison. And both these games are recorded through RGB outputs through a Framemeister on original hardware. Super Nintendo's a one-chip Super Nintendo. And they are to scale. Almost at the point where I'm unbeatable here. I've almost become unbeatable at this point with all the nitro that I have saved up. Oops. Like, this level is a good example of the differences between the console versions and the arcade version. Is those big jumps right there, if you hit a nitro boost over that, you can almost clear that whole, almost jump the whole thing there. So there actually is quite a bit of different gameplay elements from the console versions to the arcade versions. I like this track. The second arcade game that had the 8 different tracks had really good tracks. Good side-by-side comparison there. I'm leaving that gray dude in the dust. And we'll switch the sound back over real quick, get another final comparison. And I'm just wasting all my nitrous here. If you can build up your nitrous and do this in the arcade version, it's a lot of fun. So yeah, that is Super Off-Road on the 16-bit systems. Let me know which one you like better, which one has the prettier girls, which one has the better sound, or which one you enjoyed playing more. See you guys next time.